Hello and welcome to Charity's Treasures. Today's category is missionary messages, and our July theme is still the same, which will probably be next month too, because we've been talking about this series. But today, I'm kind of going to go off the series and talk about this last week. I ran a half marathon, and I've been feeling the last few days that I need to talk about this experience. So it does maybe pertain to a little bit of what we've been talking about, and also just accumulation of what's been going on with me this year, like all of the crazy stuff that I've been going through this year. So the influencer is me. I don't know if I could be considered an influencer, but anyways, I'm just going to put that in there today. And the title is The Race of Life. And the subject is Deseret News Half Marathon, which is the half marathon that I ran on Thursday. The question is, can you run the race of life alone using the strength from your learned life experiences and labors? So I've done enough crying leading up to this episode. So I think I will be able to get through it today, and just thinking about this past week and things. So I always have a theme for my race. And this was the tank top I wore. And it says, let patience have her perfect work and entire, wanting nothing. James 1:4. So this was the theme for my race. And every time I pick a theme, I think, okay, this is the theme I want because I want these things to happen. Never happens the way I think that it will. So I have this idea in my head, and Heavenly Father has other ideas in his head, I guess. Okay, and he helps me learn lessons that I need to learn, which is good. So Thursday, I ran my race, and I woke up that morning feeling something was wrong. But I didn't know what was wrong. I felt like I was missing something, but I didn't know what I was missing. You know how you go on a trip and you're always checking this or checking your purse, checking things, and you're like, oh, I think I left something behind. I think I'm missing something that I need for this trip. That's the kind of the way I felt the day of this race. I didn't feel like I had everything I needed. I kept checking everything, but there seemed like something was missing. One of the things is I just didn't have that same excitement that I always have when I'm preparing that morning for the race. I'm always just really bubbly, and even though I maybe didn't get enough sleep or something, but something was definitely missing. I felt good the couple weeks and even the month before because I had been beating my time by 5 minutes and then by 10 minutes and then by almost 15 minutes before the week of the race. I was beating my times. And so I was feeling pretty good and feeling pretty strong and confident in my ability to run this race. And the important thing about this race was I had already run it. This was my very first race, right? So this was a special race for me because I thought I am in better shape. I'm stronger. I'm going to be able to beat my time. And that's what I wanted. That was my goal. And that's why I chose that theme, because I was like, let patience have her perfect work. I've been patient for a year, thinking about this race, training for the rematch of this race. Okay, so my daughter came over to drive me to the race buses because we had to get on buses to go up on the mountain. And I was having trouble with my hair. I was having trouble with everything. And before that, like, I had a perfect week. Like, everything was going right. I just knew that this race was going to be perfect because everything was going right. But today I just felt off. Something was missing. And so she helped me get ready, and then everything was going right. Usually there's a lot of traffic, but this time we just went right to the buses. There was no traffic because there's like a lot of races going on, different races. And there was usually a lot of people, like maybe 4,000 people doing different things. And so, but we got there like right away. I was able to walk to the buses. Everything seemed good. Like that morning, everything seemed to be going perfect, just like the week had been going perfect. But there was something off, and my daughter was like, "What's wrong, Mom?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm feeling weird." And she's like, "Well, don't feel good." And so, I don't know. Something was just missing in my heart, I think. So my heart started to sink as I was going throughout this morning. And I felt, after I got to the mountain, after getting off the bus, I just felt this emptiness. Like, I felt like I didn't feel that same excitement. Like, usually I go up there, I'm talking to everybody, and I was talking to people, obviously, but it wasn't with that same excitement, that same vigor that I usually have. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with you, Charity? You better figure this out quick. And the race began. And I started running fine. And after the first 4 miles approximately, I just continued to feel so empty. I felt physically strong. I felt like I was running a good pace. My heart was beating, but it wasn't its usual excitement. And I felt like I was doing pretty well, but I still felt like something was wrong. And then about mile 6, the lady who I talked to before the race started, who was the pacemaker, she caught up to me. And she was also a member of the church, and she was the hour 45 minute pacer. And she turns to me and says, "You're doing good." I said, "I just need to keep up with you and stay with you." So I was ahead of her for a lot of the race before she caught up to me, which I was feeling pretty good about. But then she caught up to me. Woo! That feeling went down pretty quickly. And I stayed with her for a while, but then she got ahead of me. And I thought, if I get behind her, I'm not going to beat my time by, well, my goal was 10 minutes to beat my time by. I'm not even going to beat my time, I thought to myself. And after I lagged a little bit behind her and I was a little bit more than halfway through the race, I realized I didn't feel anybody. And usually when I race, I feel people like on the other side, right? I feel their energy. And I mentioned in the Salt Lake City Marathon, I felt Scott. And at the beginning of the year, when I broke my rib, I felt like, remember when I talked about 100, if not thousands of people helping me get up to continue running that fast for that last mile after I broke my rib. So I'm always feeling people, right? Sometimes I'm not paying attention to it, but they're always there. This feeling and the encouragement of those people helped me go forward in those times. And when I ran the race last year, which was my first race, after my race, I went out to eat with my daughters, and they both looked at me and said, "Mom, right now you look just like Grandma Mary." They're like, "It's so weird. It's like we're looking at her, and we just see her in you right now." And I said, "Well, she was with me when I was running this race. She's been with me this whole year as I've been training." So it didn't surprise me that they saw her in me, because I felt like she was in me and she was helping me that day. That's when I realized as I was running that no one was with me. And that's why I started to feel so empty. So I began calling out to people. I called out to my grandma and I was like, "Grandma, I need you. I need to beat my time." But there was no answer. And I felt so alone in that moment. Then I thought of Scott. And I'm like, "Scott, where are you? Don't you want to run with me today?" But again, there was no answer. And I felt even more alone. Like maybe he didn't care about me anymore. And that my grandma didn't care about me. And this special day that was for me. And what I was attempting to accomplish that day. This day was just like this special, special day for me. Then I kind of got desperate and I said to Mary and Martha, if you watched my episode last week, I said, "The least you two could do is help me today. I included you in my series when you asked me, and I want your help today." And again, no response. I felt so discouraged. And at this point, I started to literally feel pain. And it wasn't physical pain because my body was not in pain. I was keeping pace and I felt better than I did when I ran my first race. I felt stronger physically. I felt more able, but for some reason I was in some sort of pain that I didn't understand. And I can't really explain it unless you listen to this episode and know what I'm talking about. My whole body felt pain. And like I said, it wasn't physical pain because I felt like my body was strong as I was running. Then I pleaded, "Heavenly Father, where are you? I can't feel anybody. I can't feel you. I can't feel the Holy Ghost. I felt like I was in this bubble and everybody was outside the bubble, even the racers that were running with me. And I thought of those on the other side that I kind of was thinking, I know they're watching me and I know they're there, but I could not feel them. I couldn't feel their energy. I couldn't feel their happiness, their joy. I could not feel their hands and their feet helping me like they usually do. And then I thought of Jesus on the cross. I thought about right before he died and he said, God, why have you forsaken me? And in that moment, I knew God had left me. He wasn't there. My heart, when I realized this, was empty. I could not feel his presence. I could not feel the Holy Ghost. My mind was kind of like mush, and I couldn't think of any thoughts of any people that are usually with me, and I felt so sad. This was supposed to be a happy day for me. As I was approaching the finish line, I knew I had not beaten my time because the pace marker lady was ahead of me. I either thought I was going to get close to the same time or that I was going to get a worse time. In my mind, though, I was still hoping that I would beat it by a little bit. And the pain I was experiencing, which I cannot describe, was so prevalent in my body and mind that I felt despair. Right before I saw the finish line, I thought to myself, I am not going to make it. I'm just going to fall on my face right before the finish line, and I'm not going to be able to cross the finish line. But I did cross it. The last few miles, I just kept talking to myself, trying to understand what was going on in my mind and in my heart and with my body. Then I met my daughters after I crossed the finish line. Emily had run the 5K, and I did not know if she was going to run it when I left her house because she wasn't sure if she was going to run it. But she decided to at the last minute. And so she started later than I did. So I just found out when I crossed the finish line that she had decided to. And I was so happy and relieved to see her. And I was so happy that she ran it because I have been trying to get her to run it, all my kids. One day I will recruit every single one of them. But I've been trying to get her to run it for a long time. And I could see that she was really happy. And that made me happy. Then I saw my other daughter, Karamia, and seeing her made me happy. And my heart started to fill up again as I was in their presence. Because before this, I felt so alone and unloved. And I was so confused at why I felt this way. And why everybody just left me. I was like, why? Why did everybody just leave me? So we took some fun pictures and the girls were like, Mom, you did well. Then we went back to my daughter's house. My one daughter was taking a shower and I was talking to my other daughter. And I was saying something was wrong today. And I don't know what it is. And I'm having a difficult time understanding it. And then the thought came to me that there was another time in my life that I have felt this way. After I received my blessing, after I broke my rib, my home teacher who gave me the blessing told me that I must share my experience. And I think this is one of those experiences I must share. As I was talking to my daughter, I told her that there was one other time I have felt this way in my life. I told her that the day of my divorce, I was sitting in the courthouse and it was almost time to go into the courtroom. And I remember sitting there on the bench and I said to God, why are you letting this happen to me? I said, I am failing. This isn't what I signed up for. I'm not a failure. I didn't sign up for life things to fail. That's just not who I am. That's not what I do. But today I felt like the biggest failure. I felt like this on the race on Thursday as I was running. I just felt the whole time that I was failing, that I was not doing well. And I was so disappointed in myself. So while I was sitting on this bench there pondering my life and what it's going to look like and thinking about how this decision will affect my children, I felt confusion and I felt like I was in this bubble and that I was all by myself. I had graduated from college in 1993 and decided to stay home with my children, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 19 years. And that was my biggest joy. And I knew after this decision on that day that I would be spending less time with my children than I normally would be able to. and I knew that I would probably miss things in their life. I had to start a journey if this was going to go through today, if I was going to get this divorce finalized. And I remember saying to Heavenly Father, let lightning strike the courthouse and have it burn down. Or I said, let something happen where the judge needs to go and we can postpone today. Then I heard God's voice. And he said, Charity, you must do this alone. You must make this decision by yourself. I cannot help you. Then he left me. And I felt the same emptiness that day as I felt when I was running this race. Those are the only 2 times in my life where I felt so empty, like my heart was not full, and I was completely left with myself. I did make that decision on my own. And after I made that decision, a new journey has started in my life. And that journey has been going on for almost 10 years now. I've had a lot of difficult experiences. I've had a lot of hard things happen. I've had a lot of times where I've been humbled in ways that I did not think that I deserved. Even though I couldn't see my future the day of my divorce, or what my future path looked like, or what that first step on that future path would lead to, it's the only path I saw that day. It's the only path I felt I could choose. I explained to my daughter that today, on the day of the race, I felt that same way. I felt like God left me, and he didn't allow anyone else to be with me either. I felt I had to run this race alone. I was feeling spiritual pain and spiritual weakness because I am still at a lower level of participating in this life using my own strength, which I will explain. After she talked to me a little bit and gave me some advice, I told her that, you're right. I had to run this race by myself with my own strength. God has given me his power and has taught me how to use it. And he wants me to be like him. And he wants me to be godlike, which I have been preaching to everybody since I started this podcast. And on Thursday, he gave me the opportunity to be godlike. He gave me the opportunity to walk on my own. He has been holding my hand for the last 50 years of my life. And the day of my divorce and the day of the race, he let go of my hand and told me that I was strong enough to do it on my own. And I did it. I have reached new levels in the past 10 years. After the race, I realized that the pain that I was feeling was him and his spirit being gone from my body and mind. And I didn't have that support that I usually feel. And I realized I got the same exact time. After the race, I pretty much did the same exact time. Everything was the same pretty much. But I realized after talking to my daughter and thinking about it throughout the day that I got the same time, but I ran better this race because I did it using my muscles that I have developed and grown. And as I pulled down God's power from heaven, I did it on my own, with my own strength, not the strength of everybody else on the other side, not the Holy Ghost telling me what I needed to do, and not even God having his spirit be with me and his presence with me. So I realized that in this race, I worked with God, but I worked independent using the power that he taught me how to use because I have been his servant and done the work required. The day of the race, I learned to be a little bit more like God, and I reached a new level of being godlike. It wasn't a fun lesson to learn. I'm telling you that right now. But I really wanted to beat my time. I pretty much got the exact same time, except I got third in my age group, which means I got an extra medal for being third. And maybe that was God's way of telling me that I have reached new levels spiritually. You don't know what it's like not to have God with you until he leaves you, and he lets you experience things that will create in you godlike qualities. That's why we're here, to learn to be like him. He is God, and we are his posterity, and he is teaching us how to be God's one day. He is not teaching us to be independent of him, but to be independent with him. And I know I have said this many times in my podcast, but the day of the race, I actually experienced all my preaching. Why do I preach? Because I know it's going to come back and hit me like karma. Okay, I am preparing for this new job opportunity. And so this is why I had to go through this experience with this race. So this day will be forever imprinted in my mind. So I'm preparing for this job opportunity, a job I will absolutely love, a job that will bring me to new levels of strength, courage, hope, faith, charity, obedience, godlike qualities, and new levels of understanding of the scriptures of the gospel. But in order to get this job, which will probably happen at the beginning of 2026, I must leave Montana, which will give me plenty of time, right? And I've never left Montana. I've never left my parents. My parents have been one of my biggest supporters my entire life, and my siblings. And I love them so much. I am so grateful for them in my life, for all the support they have given me throughout my life, and all the help they have given me throughout my life. And I hope that I have been some sort of guidance to them, an example, so that they will soon turn their hearts to God. Sometimes God's going to send us on a journey that is new. After my divorce, I had to go on a new journey. At that point, at the pinpoint of my divorce, God left me to decide on my own. I feel like this is another pinpoint in my life where I must begin a new journey. And this race helped me decide on my own that I must travel it. And I must begin it on my own 2 feet, independent with God. Not independent of God, but also reach new levels of being godlike. And there's going to be many times that he lets me stand alone. And in those times, I will understand more about what it means to pull down his power from heaven and use it in my life, because he gives us power. And when we learn how to use that power to benefit and build up his kingdom, he will continue to trust us to build up his kingdom and to bring others to the gospel and to the truth. The last 2 years, I feel like I have been on a mission with my son. He has been such a great influence in my life, teaching me what it means to be a righteous priesthood holder, something I've never experienced in my life. And because the last 2 years of taking his instruction and his advice and learning to trust the priesthood, I know now what it feels like and what that looks like. What a great man he is. What a great husband he will be. What a great father he will be to his children. And what a great leader he will be as he helps lead in God's church throughout his life. I'm grateful for my children and all the wonderful things that they have taught me and all the support that they have given me. In this new journey, I will be somewhere else, but I will not be doing it alone, because I will still have the people I love surrounding me. And those on the other side will be able to pop that bubble and administer to me when I need them. Life is a gift. Learning is a gift. Applying the gospel principles and doctrine into our lives as we exercise faith with action is a gift. If God is going to trust me to do his work, I will not let him down. And I know that he knows, and I know that I will do the job that he gives me, and I will do it the right way with confidence. I have gone through the experiences that will help me be successful, and I know that I have not let him down. And all these years, as I was trying to get to the point where I needed to be and at times losing hope that I would never get to that point, I see now that my patience is almost perfect, to the point of not wanting for anything. I know why I've had to go through all these experiences. And if I must go through the next 10 years of more difficult experiences to become like God, I would. And I will, if that is what my future holds. But I think the next part of my life is going to hold a much different future than what my past has been. I'm excited to be like God. I'm excited for him to show me new and wonderful things that I've never seen before. I hope and pray that anyone who doesn't have God in their life will turn their heart to him and let him lead and guide you, and not get frustrated with the journey, because the journey is what creates us into something great. In my last post before this race, I said that I am ready for a rematch against myself. I should not have said that. I said, it's time to face the fear. It's time to engage in the battle. It's time to see the fruit of my labors. It's time to let patience have her perfect work. Sorry, the sun is going down and it's very dark in this room. When those words came to my mind, I didn't know I was actually going against myself literally. I said, it is time to face the fear. I did not realize when I said that I would have fear that day, and I would have to overcome that fear with great faith. Then I said, it is time to engage in the battle. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I said, okay, So I said, it's time to face the fear. It's time to engage in the battle. It's time to see the fruit of my labors. It's time to let patience have her perfect work. So when those words came to my mind, I didn't know I was going to go against myself. Okay, so I said that it's time to face the fear. And I did have to face that fear. And then I said, it's time to engage in the battle. I engaged in the battle, right? A battle with my own strength. That day, I had to use my own strength to finish the race. A battle where I understood how strong I really was and how my muscles were going to carry me each step of the way. The muscles that I worked hard to get for the past year or so. I said that it's time to see the fruit of my labors. I saw how my training helped me finish the race. I felt the pain. Every step I took, I felt pain of what the refining fire was bringing into me for almost 30 years of my life. Then I said, it's time to let patience have her perfect work. I did not realize that this would mean that I would have to run the race alone. I did not realize that this was the perfect work that God would be giving me. I did not realize what a great gift it was until after I was done with the race. We can all fight the fight. We can all engage in the battle and win. We can all have a rematch with ourselves throughout our life, increasing our levels of strength, courage, and consistency. We can all let patience have her perfect work. We can all face the fear. We can all overcome the fear with faith. And in the end, see the work of our labor. When I run relying on spiritual and physical strength. I combine the two to be the best runner I can be. And when I start running, I started increasing my levels of physical and spiritual strength at the same time. I draw strength from spiritual beings on the other side. We can draw strength from them. And that can help us physically and mentally if you're going through mental challenges. And usually when I run, I do draw on the spiritual strength of those people surrounding me. You have increased physical strength when you have spiritual strength. They go hand in hand. If you have the opportunity to participate in both as you live on the earth, it will be a great advantage to you. There is a reason God gave us our bodies. It wasn't to have them be weak when we had the opportunity to have them be strong. That spiritual strength and priesthood power that is given to us creates physical strength within us. What does all this mean? Why and what did I learn from this experience? I learned that I can run the same time throughout my life on my own or with the help of others. God wanted me to know how strong I am by myself. But the thing is, life is more fun when we share it with others. We don't need to do it alone, but sometimes if we must, it is important to know that we have the strength to do so. The thing is, I know as I use God's power in my life, I could do hard things on my own. I know that now, but I wouldn't choose that course. When I saw my girls at the end of the finish line supporting me, my heart filled up with joy, knowing that I didn't have to do this on my own. I get to experience this earth life journey with a family that I love and friends that I love and friends and family that support me as I support them. I want to walk with Jesus and have him point to all the things that will lead me on righteous paths. People who don't include God in their life don't realize he is still in your life. You would not be able to walk this life without him. It is impossible. And even though you don't recognize him, he is still with you. And he's the reason you're still going. And there's people all around you on the other side helping you through it, even though you don't recognize or see them either. If they left you, you would definitely feel despair and an emptiness that you wouldn't be able to go on. But you don't know what you wouldn't know what that emptiness was. But it wouldn't happen because God doesn't work that way. God puts us on earth together because he wants us to engage in this life together. And that's what I'm going to do. So the next time I run, I hope I don't have to do it alone because there's so much more joy in my heart when those people are surrounding me. There's fear when you run a race. You have to kind of place that fear way down in order to actually run the race. There's also fear in your workouts. Whenever you have a long run, there's fear that day that you're not going to finish or that you're going to feel like giving up and you're going to give into that feeling because you feel like giving up many times because you're tired or because you didn't get enough sleep the night before or you didn't eat something that settled right with you and so you're not feeling well. There is fear in failure. Every time I run a race, every time I run my long runs during the week, I'm facing that fear. When I'm done with any of those things, I realize that I overcame the fear. Overcoming this fear carries you through overcoming everyday life, knowing that you faced the fear and overcame it. and you're doing it every week makes you strong and makes you feel like you have courage to face anything else that life throws at you. If you can run 15 miles in one day, or be at 26 if you're a marathon runner, if you can run 10 miles, 8 miles, and more during the week, so it equals 35 to 50 miles, depending on what race you're training for, you are overcoming fear at a constant and consistent rate. In order to be like God, we cannot be afraid. We must overcome fear in order to do his work at the highest levels. And I'm not talking about on earth, I'm talking about in eternity. I imagine that for the next years of my life, this is going to happen to me a little bit more often, especially when I get a husband and I must look to him for guidance and instruction like I do my son. When I have learned, and I have learned to do this through my son the last couple of years as we talk every week, I know when I see someone and I see my son in him, I know that is when the right person will come into my life. Having my son's qualities, his demeanor, his spirit. In order for me to be godlike and to build like God builds, I must learn to use his power independently. I'm sure this will be a gradual process throughout the rest of my life, which doesn't mean I won't sense and feel those on the other side anymore and enjoy their presence. It just means that we will be walking together instead of them always holding my hand. I will be walking with Jesus instead of him always carrying me and holding my hand, as I learn to suffer with him as he suffered in the Garden of Gethsemane. As it pertains to my part in his suffering, we will begin to walk together. So when will my patience have her perfect work in my life to the point where I want for nothing? After I get this job, that will definitely perfect my patience journey. There would be one other thing. When I meet someone and I look into their eyes and see the eyes of my son, when I can see that he will be a righteous priesthood holder like my son is, when I can see that he loves God more than anything else in this world like my son does, when I can see my future in his eyes like I see the future in my son's eyes, that is when my patience will have her perfect work entirely, wanting for nothing. I left out of my post that day that it's time to feel the fire. God is refining us into someone great. Let him. And I would say, walk with Jesus. Bye, everybody.